at a record pace.
Don't get 70 miles per gallon on this fucker.
It's a ship that made the castle.
Eve. He's
There it
beginning to
is.
believe.
We're
There it
here.
is.
He's-
Yay!
Peter, you're doing it, Peter. You're
Man.
believing, Kevin. Is that another Hook reference?
Yeah, every episode this year has Hook references. If you look for them deep enough, you will find every
You
Easter
will
egg from the
find
movie Hook.
every single
2025. Fast ones. Hook themed. This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back to the Fast Ones.
Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. We just came off of the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yes.
It felt like the longest Grand Prix in the world to me.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
It kept having qualifying sessions and kept having races.
Dude, it felt like it was just one qualifying session.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It just was never ending.
Yeah.
Which is not bad.
No.
Yeah, which was good because it was, we just came after the winter break.
Yep.
So it's nice to get a long race weekend after a rainy race weekend in Australia.
Yes. In the dry. So we have some
We can now kind of
reference
see
point.
what the cars are actually like.
Yeah, totally.
Which we're definitely going to get into because I want to talk about a lot of things.
I'm sure. Me too. Me too. I got ideas.
Because I don't know
Got thoughts.
I don't know if you heard, there were a few things that happened this weekend.
Tell me about them.
Bortoletto
Yeah.
spun out. So it's going to be 45 minutes talking about Bortoletto.
We're just going to analyze.
That's what the fans want.
They are super interested to hear about Sauber.
We're grateful that Kevin is here for us today, helping out with the behind the scenes. He was like, "Are you going to talk about Ferrari disqualifications?" We're like, "No, never. That makes no sense."
I don't know who's Ferrari.
Yeah, people want Kick Sauber Steak F1 team featuring Drake.
News. Yes. That's all they're looking for is the update, the latest information on Drake's influence on Formula One. That's what people
It
are
is
wanting.
massive.
Yeah.
You think Formula One is big in the U.S. for just any reason? No, it's Drake.
It's actually Canada's influence on the U.S. Through the avenue of Drake. That's
Drake.
at least what I've been told by producer Kevin, who is throwing tariff comments around in the corner.
Is that why I'm not hearing a lot of Drake music anymore? Is because the tariffs?
They're taxing Drake's music. Man, Kendrick, he really won. We had no idea.
Is Trump a Kendrick fan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Four-dimensional chess activated.
He's like, Kendrick, I got you.
Nobody does it like Kendrick. I've never
I will
heard
stop
anybody
this
do.
music from coming into the country.
Nobody will be able to stop him.
We have the worst Trump act.
Yeah, I'm so bad at it. It's crazy. I can only mimic the size of his hands. That's it. You know.
Well, anyway, let's move actually into
Oh, yeah, a
what we
race
got
weekend.
going on. Yeah, race weekend. I mean, what are we going to start with first? I mean, we can start with Haas, and we can also point out this awesome Haas Lego F1 car. I mean, if you haven't already, buy a couple of them because I have.
By 4 at least.
And this is an amazing car.
It is the raddest.
You had a good time
thing.
building this.
I love this so much.
Yeah.
I made a piece of content around making this car. It will come out eventually, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I was so stoked. I mean, the thing is about this, and for those around the globe who listen to us, this is going to be a little bit of like a tangent, but imagine being able to go to a local grocery store and pick up a piece of F1 merch. Unheard of in my day here in the United States. Like growing up, there was nothing. There's no access to stuff like that. So I went to go pick up some groceries this past week. And sure enough, this was at my local grocery store. My mind is blown for multiple reasons, but mainly because it's like, as much as we're Haas fans,
Yeah.
this is a mid-pack team.
Yes. Yeah.
So to have the availability of a mid-pack team model car at a local grocery store, let's go.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
I mean, even for the past 5 years since I started watching, slowly merch has come out.
Right.
And it was always just McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari.
Yeah.
And
And
Red Bull.
Red Bull. Right. Yeah.
You can never get anything else.
Yeah.
So forget about Renault. For like Haas, never Haas.
Yeah. Every time I looked at like getting a Kevin Magnussen model, which I've done a lot of times, it was always like, well, first of all, it was in like Danish francs.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't being sold in
Yeah,
the
it's
US.
sold by one hobby shop in Copenhagen.
Yeah, exactly. And it was always like doing the conversion. I'm like, it's gonna be like $500 before it gets to me.
Yeah, it's
Jeez.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So to have this, and just so you know, K-Mag, just if you're listening, this is for you. You live on, because this is last year's car. So
Yes.
this is Nico and K-Mag.
Uh-huh.
Respect to Ollie and Ocon, and we're gonna get into that for this
For
weekend.
sure, yeah.
But anyways, this lives on as a kind of the prior team.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I have my own model. I'm excited to build it. And it was the good year.
Yeah.
Perfect pairing. But how do we want to do this episode? Because I want to talk about Haas.
Yes.
I also definitely want to talk about Ferrari. I want to talk about
Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Yeah.
and then everything else that kind of happened as well.
Okay.
But what do you think the best order is?
I like that order.
Okay.
I think we
Because
go
we're
for it.
already going off the Haas Lego F1 car.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I mean, last week I was so disappointed with Haas, and we were.
It was soul crushing.
It was.
The Australian Grand Prix was soul crushing for Haas fans. It was like, this is going to be a long year.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long year.
We listened back to that episode, and I think we had some reels on it that came out, even like theorizing that Haas might be holding back or
On
at least
purpose.
saving performance for next
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
so they can get more wind tunnel time.
Yeah.
And little did we know, it was just an off week for a few teams because a lot of teams came out differently this week, and Haas was amazing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double points finish for
Huge.
the Chinese Grand Prix.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The last thing I expected.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, they finished even higher in the points than we thought initially.
Yeah.
Because of some other,
Cheaters never prosper.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's huge. So to have both of them finish in the points, I loved Ollie's chow.
The best.
It's the best thing ever.
Uh-huh.
But I love that, like, it shows his fire. And, like, that's the thing about Ollie, who raced for Ferrari last year and then raced for Haas twice, is, like, he has that contrast. He knows what the front-running car feels like. And then to get into his Haas car, this is his permanent full-time seat, and to be able to deliver a result, I'm sure that felt so good.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially seeing Kimi perform in Australia and finish right behind George, I'm sure that there was a part of him that was like, dang. Like, I really wish I had my chance now to get out there and really show what I can do now that Kimi's kind of shown what he can. And so I feel like being able to finish, what did it end up being? Like, I think he finished
Seventh?
seventh,
Eighth.
and Ocon was fifth. Is that what it ended
And I
up
want to
being?
confirm, Kevin, I don't know if you can look this up, but is fifth tied for the highest Haas finish in all of its history?
I think they've had a fourth.
Yeah, I wanted to look that up because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. But amazing finish.
Yeah.
I can't argue with the fact that Esteban Ocon drove a great race.
Amazing race.
And then not only did drove a great race, but it was like in a prime position, fourth. Kevin is saying the highest we've reached is fourth. So
Okay.
just below the podium.
Yep.
But yeah, Esteban Ocon put himself in a space that when there was the opportunity of the Ferraris getting disqualified, yeah, you bump up to fifth. Ollie Behrman comes with you, and it's just an amazing result.
Yeah, huge result. And
So what do you think like the differences between the Australian Grand Prix and the Chinese Grand Prix for Haas? I mean, one thing we did say, which I am proud of, is that I still have my faith in Ayo Komatsu.
oh yeah.
I think
yeah.
I have been
He's precious.
doubtful of Esteban Ocon.
Or no, wait, Precious was Behrman. I can't remember. Ayal's the man though.
Yeah, he is the man. And we were worried that like, oh, they might be holding back performance for 2025, but we still have faith in Ayo Komatsu.
Oh yeah.
And then he came out strong this week.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference was?
I mean, I think this track is really unique. It's kind of a DRS train nightmare
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. There's two decently long straightaways.
They're huge. The longest in the track calendar.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
Someone said that it has the longest straight in
Yeah.
all the races.
That probably makes sense. This is probably not so much to scale.
I think all these are to scale.
Because I'm like, Monza? But yeah, like it is so, it like once they get on those straightaways, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. Everyone's got the DRS flap open and are going to be able to do crap. And so, but the surface both tracks actually have this in common, but I think that they're different.
Yeah.
So in Australia, the surface was new,
Okay.
but because of the painted lines and all the things that we talked about last episode, that's what made that track so slick and so difficult to navigate in the rain. China's surface is new, but the way that they developed the Chinese surface, the new Chinese track, is it's really, really grippy.
Okay, this is something I
super
wanted
grippy.
to ask you about because there were a lot of different tire strategies happening, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was so frustrated with some of the tire choices they were putting on people's cars.
Right.
For instance, Lewis, for his tire change at the end, he went for hard tires.
Right.
And thinking that, I was like, why is he doing this? He's not going to be able to catch up to the position he was in with hards.
Right.
And then Haas put Ollie Behrman on mediums.
Right.
And he was able to go to the entire end of the race.
Right.
And gave him a lot of grip. He was able to make up a lot of positions.
Right.
Why didn't they give Lewis medium tires?
That's a good question.
Because he would have blitzed it like crazy. And he did make up a ton of time, but was still 7-8 seconds behind Max, where he could have passed him easily.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if and Kevin might be able to tell us this for sure, but my first assumption would be that Ferrari are probably out of mediums. They either.
Oh.
But the other thing is too, and this is super hard to understand on a lot of wavelengths, and I'll try my best to break this down, but each car performs differently on different sets of tires. And during the sprint race, everybody had to work through a phase on the medium tires of graining. And have we ever talked about graining before?
We have, but please remind me.
Okay.
Because they said it during the race.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was.
So graining is weird. It's funny. Even Martin Brundle at some point this weekend said that the tires aren't really rubber. I don't know what that means. They're a compound of some other
Brundle
materials.
Have a conspiracy that we're not aware of. He's like, don't tell anyone, but Big Pirelli has said they're not actually rubber.
Those aren't real tires. They want you to believe they're real tires.
We have word from Kevin coming.
They were having graining problems.
Okay.
Mediums.
Okay.
Okay.
They ran the hards.
Okay. Yeah. So
people
they were
graining
having
problem.
graining issues with the mediums, which is what I knew at least from the race or the sprint race that Lewis had to work through that phase. Now, the way that graining works is that the surface of the tire starts to get basically balled up,
Okay.
the rubber on the back of an eraser from your pencil.
Yeah.
It gets all kind of balled up on the surface,
Yeah.
and it's no longer smooth and flat because it does that weird ball up thing. So now you've got kind of this inconsistent tire wall that you have to work through in order for it to become a slick again and then to get ultimate level of grip. And because Lewis went through that phase in the lead of the race for the sprint race, I think that's why he was able to manage it. But if they had put him out on mediums when he was in traffic, there's a good chance that he may not have been able to work through the graining phase and be able to get up to speed. And if he did, it might have been too late.
Gotcha.
So where they could bank on the hard being just a new tire and that wouldn't do that, that's why my guess is that's why they would have strategically gone that way.
They also,
Kevin.
tire choices is what led to them being underweight.
Oh, okay.
Kevin was saying that their tire choices is what led for them to be underweight.
It was an underweight thing.
Charles was disqualified. That's why he was
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And Charles had a one-step strategy, which is yeah. So we'll get to that too.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
totally
you.
get to that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just interesting to me, and that makes sense, but still, I wanted Lewis to be put onto mediums. Because taking a pit stop at that time and going 20 plus seconds back behind Max, I was like, well, what's the point? He was going to pass you anyway.
Right.
You could have just stayed up there, but it was just kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
But Haas, Ayu Komatsu was on the call with Crofty during the race, and they were to kind of question him. They're like, the mediums, you sure about that? And he's like, no, we've done our research. We looked at it. We think the mediums will last to the end of the race. And then it did. And it was just awesome to see Ollie Behrman climb up the order.
Right.
And lasted the whole race. It was awesome.
It's amazing. And I think that again, it's partially probably due to a couple of factors, but a big one being that we just have this opportunity with but like the Ferraris are very pointy car, and like Lewis said during qualifying on the second session, he was for the race. He said they put it on a knife edge and he couldn't control it with the adjustments they made. And I just think that the Haas is probably a little kinder on the tires, not quite as aggressive on the setup, and that's probably why they could run the medium and have a good result out of that. So, anyways, I think it's a pretty big. Kevin's opening a pack of blueberries over there. Blackberries, sorry.
But well done for Haas.
Such a Canadian. He's
Yeah.
like, gotta talk about blackberries. I mean, we get it. You made a cell phone once upon a time, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one talks about it anymore.
What have Blackberries done for us recently? Nothing.
Nothing.
But good for Haas.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to see how they continue. If this is their actual pace,
Yeah.
or at least the stuff that they can continue to bring, this is awesome because it's great to see them outperforming Stake, outperforming Williams, outperforming Alpine. They're kind of sucking it right now.
Well, Williams got double points
Yeah.
as well, and
But we beat them.
we
maybe?
beat them. We beat them.
Yeah.
But Carlos didn't finish in the points until there was disqualifications.
Okay, yeah.
So, but still,
Technical
yeah.
win.
Yeah.
And then, doing better than Visa Cash App or Racing Bulls. What are
Yeah.
they called now? Racing Bulls.
Racing Bulls.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Visa Racing
I mean,
Bulls.
Yuki had a horrible race.
Yeah.
I think they had like a two-stop strategy that didn't pan out at all.
No.
But yeah, so I'm stoked about Haas. Super stoked about Haas. This gives me more hope for the year.
I mean, and part of me thinks that like the other side of that is that it's like, is the Haas car any good, or are we seeing more that like the drivers were comfortable
Okay.
and that they delivered on a day because like, yeah, like they're familiar now, they're understanding what the car's characteristics are like. And now they can kind of be like, oh yeah, we can sink our teeth into this driving dynamic and really deliver. So I'm really curious to see how it goes for him.
Yeah, very cool. Let's shift gears into what we were kind of leading about earlier about Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boys
So,
in red.
Yeah, I didn't even realize they got a double disqualification. And I had watched the race on Sunday evening. I had waited and I had been off social media. Didn't want to hear any news or any spoilers.
Right.
So I watched the race and then I chimed into our group chat and saw a double disqualification. I was like, this can't be real. So I had to look up all the news. I was like, oh. And then Pierre Gasly had been disqualified as well.
Yeah.
So him and Charles were underweight.
Salt in the wound for Alpine. It's different.
They're
for,
like, we were already at the back. They're like, nah.
being disqualified
you
when you're
need worse.
Ferrari. Actually, like it hurts, but then when you're Alpine, you're like, why would you do that?
Just at least let us finish.
Just like, Dad, it's really mean.
Just give us 20th. Don't
Yeah.
make us do that.
Yeah, totally. Can you just
Not
give him
like
a time
this.
penalty?
Not like this.
So real.
But yes, the double disqualification for Ferrari was huge.
Yeah.
I did like a post I saw of all like what was your favorite double, and there was the double disqualification from Ferrari,
Yeah.
double points from Haas, double points from Williams, and then there's another double. Shoot, I'm forgetting it now. Oh, the double podium for McLaren.
Yeah.
A lot of weird doubles this
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah,
So
totally.
it was good, but Ferrari.
Yeah.
So
The Ferrari, the prancing pony.
yeah, Charles was underweight.
Yeah.
Lewis's skid plate
Yes.
was too thin.
Which has happened to him last year. This is 2 years in a row
It
that
happened
this
to
is,
him last year?
Yeah, it was in the Austin Grand Prix, the United States Grand Prix.
Oh, that happened to Lewis.
We were talking about it last year with this exact model.
That's
that
right.
This is the skid block, and the wear was too much. And Lewis's wear on this go around was like 0.1, wasn't it? Like 0.1 of a millimeter. It was so business card.
Wait, so
Thickness.
that's the amount that it went past what was legally required.
What was the
So they measured it
restriction?
and they're like, this is 0.1
1
too
millimeter.
short.
Too
thin.
short. Too thin. Yep.
Oh gosh.
And he was disqualified.
That means one little pebble just nicked something out where it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And he got
One trip over the curb too many.
Oh
Like
man.
just brutal.
The race engineers were trying to get them to stay off the curbs.
Yeah, were they?
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, one
yeah.
of the best things about this race was that Charles,
especially if they had a one-stop strategy,
Yeah.
they would have to stay off the curbs.
but there was a couple radio calls where they were telling Charles to like maybe try staying off the curbs, and he's like, nope. Do you remember that? And I loved it because we had talked about how Lewis had been kind of putting the radio in line.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
putting
yeah.
the pit wall in line. Like,
Yeah.
I am gonna call things
like-
as well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
please
don't repeat yourself.
Yeah.
I don't need repeating.
I don't need repeating. This
Yeah.
is how we're going to be able to communicate during the season. You don't need to say it 10 times.
Right.
And then this race, Charles was doing that. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love that Lewis
Yeah.
is rubbing off on Charles.
He's brought
the pit wall is so mad right now.
Oh yeah, they're like, who are these drivers?
We brought in this outsider, and now he's ruining the dynamic.
He's changing Ferrari.
What,
What's
Kevin?
up, Kev?
So last year was Zandvoort.
Last year's Zandvoort.
That's where
With the skid plate?
Oh, it was Zandvoort that he got disqualified. Okay.
Okay, and the minimum is 9 millimeters
9 millimeters of wear.
of like that's how thick it has to be.
Yeah. Okay.
So it has to be 9 millimeters thick.
It has to be 9 millimeters thick.
Lewis's where so his floor was 8.6 millimeters thick.
Oh gosh. Okay. So Lewis was at 8.6. So he had 0.4 millimeters of wear beyond where he was supposed to be.
And so does that mean that he's just the car's either riding too low, too much downforce being pushed down into the track?
Yeah.
Or like I said, hitting curbs too much. It could be a reason.
Yeah, I mean, so ride height is what determines the wear of the skid block for sure. And if his ride height was more aggressive than Charles and he was running over curbs, then yeah, that would have done it. But I do remember this being an issue at Mercedes. You know, maybe Lewis's driving style is more on the low ride height side because now we've experienced this twice. So
Yeah.
and with him in two different teams. So it seems to me like it's probably something that has to do with his setup liking that the car's riding so low.
Yeah. And then Charles coming in underweight.
Yeah.
The last year George did this, and
Yeah.
we talked about it was like marbling. We said like he wasn't driving
it up.
outside the racing line to pick up all the marbles at the end of the race. What was the reason this time? I mean, Kevin had said something earlier.
Yeah, I think it's tire choice, but also it's interesting to, again, like these are assumptions. And the part of the reason is because if we edit this into a reel, I know you people on social media are going to eat me alive, pretend like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. Okay. But the point is that like one stop strategy, you don't have the 26 seconds of slowdown pit lane limiter speed,
Okay.
which means that you're carrying that much fuel that didn't that like you would burn less fuel.
Yeah.
And so I don't know about like their engine map settings or whatever, but my guess would be that by driving the further distance without the pit lane, I don't know if they underestimated the fuel that they needed to not use, but he came in underweight. And a lot of the teams don't push that to the absolute limit the way that like Aston Martin did, where they got DQ'd, where it has like just enough in the tank. Although most of the teams will probably not push it quite that far. So my guess is that it was probably a fuel related thing with Charles, where he only did a one-stop strategy and they didn't calculate how much the car would weigh by not saving the fuel that the second pit stop would have had in the tank.
So,
But this is something.
That's just a theory.
This is the theory.
Yeah.
They haven't really come up with like much there as far as an explanation, because
Yeah.
I don't think they want the other teams to know why they would come in underweight.
So I guess fuel counts as part of the weight.
Yeah.
I guess I never really considered that before because I know people have been disqualified for no fuel in the tank,
Right.
but they still come in with the weight.
Right.
Sebastian got disqualified his last season for
Yeah.
not enough fuel.
For not
Yeah.
enough fuel. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sebastian's last season with Aston Martin is when he got disqualified for that same thing.
But so weight counts with the fuel as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But that sucks. I mean, and Charles ran a whole race with a broken wing,
Yeah.
which was crazy.
Insane.
It looks like the wing doesn't really do anything. The side things,
I actually think it
the
probably-
side things probably.
I think it benefited
So
him.
this is a question I had for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they were saying that all the drivers were experiencing lots of degradation on their front left tire.
Yeah.
Charles,
Had no front left winglet,
and he seemed to be fine.
was able to manage.
Yes. Was that because he didn't have the little thing sticking up?
I mean, there's so many variables
my
to
little
that
theory.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's possibilities, but yeah, it's like that. You know, they're losing points of downforce, which means that's less downforce on that specific tire. But I also think that like running the straightaways, it's like flexi wings, right? You could see it in the pictures. People were posting it like crazy. Like Charles's wing was like on the ground going down the straightaways.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get the hamburger flag that Haas kept getting. but nothing was really hanging off.
No
It,
comment.
Yeah, it's Ferrari.
Yeah, it's not Kevin Magnussen either. I don't know what the steward's problem was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the thing is that the reason that flexible wings would be disqualified is because it's like what the next regulations have, which is like an active DRS on the front wing.
Oh,
Because if the front wing flattens out going down the straightaway, then it's basically making it so it has no drag
wow.
at high speed.
And that just happens naturally as like the wind pushes up against it.
And that's what they're trying to regulate right
trying-
now.
okay.
They're trying to fix this because there's two ways that these teams are playing that right now. One, that the front wings are folding flat, and that gives less drag on the straightaways. And then the other one is that the rear wing has what they call mini DRS, which means that where the flap opens
Yeah.
on the back of the wing here, that material is too flexible. And so when they're going down the straightaways, McLaren's the most guilty of it. It opens at high speed, allowing there
little,
to be
like,
less
gill.
drag, and then the car's stupid
Mini
fast.
DRS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that they're working on right now. Oops.
No, I was impressed that they were able to go so long without changing his wing. Not because it seemed hard to drive, but because they didn't get a flag telling them to change it.
Yeah.
As soon as that wing was damaged, I was like, oh, they're going to be calling him in.
Yeah.
This happened to Kevin Magnussen like 20 times last year.
Right.
It's like a piece of the decal went off of his car.
well, and
it was
it's like-
get him in the pits.
Now all the teams are going to be like, oh, that's fast. So they're going to go to like Monza and they're all going to be like trying to knock off the end plate from the, like, you know.
All the end plates are going to be like just like held on with like a little bit of
it's
tape.
all just the left one.
yeah.
so-
it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
So that happened coming into the first turn.
Kevin Magnussen edition.
That's amazing.
This is the new Kevin Magnussen edition Lego. It's
Yeah.
The winglets off.
I felt like it was Charles's fault that he hit into Lewis. Would you disagree? I just wanted to get your opinion.
It was what it's.
Lewis, to me, I'm still up in the air about how do they determine who's at fault when like a driver coming into a corner and hits the other driver.
Yeah.
To me, it always feels like the guy behind you is at fault.
Yeah, well, I think in this case it's the first lap. They're going through that kind of swoopy 270-degree right-hander, and Lewis is coming across to be able to get the best advantage that he can for the left, and Charles is alongside somebody that he's racing for position. I think it's just a racing incident in the sense of wrong place, wrong time,
Yeah.
and it just so happened to be your teammate.
Yeah.
When it's Lance Stroll in Australia, or no, it was Bahrain. And when it's Lance Stroll in Bahrain running into Fernando Alonso, that was just idiocy.
Yeah.
Because he just locked up and ran into his teammate. But with Charles, like he was kind of racing somebody for position and Lewis swung out and there just wasn't space.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that when Lewis, at one point, like he was starting to lose pace in his car and they had to, do team orders. They asked like Charles to like move forward.
Yeah.
And I liked that Lewis, they're like, hey, Lewis, like we're going to have Charles pass. And he was like, when he's closer, like,
Right.
so I'm not saying no,
Yeah.
but like, let him catch up to me.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose time over this.
Yeah. And like this guy is driving so smart.
Right.
I think he's like leveling up this team in such a way that like inexperienced drivers necessarily would.
I have a theory about this too.
Yeah. What is it? What do you got?
So I felt like the thing that stood out to me the most out of everything, is this was super uncharacteristic Lewis. And I wonder if everyone else noticed it during the sprint race.
Okay. Well, yeah. What you
Because
got?
so during the sprint race, he finishes first. They come over the radio and they're like, okay, that's P1, right? And the first thing the Lewis says over the radio is like, woo, okay, all right. And I've legit, I'm so used to Lewis winning
Yeah.
that I know the speech.
Yeah. What is it? What do you got?
It's like, oh, yeah, thanks to all the men and women back at the factory.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, just so grateful. Thank you everybody for being
Yeah,
here.
thanks to the
This is a
team.
win for the team. This is not just me. And nothing that
right.
even resembled that in the
No.
post-race interview. Nothing that resembled that out of the car.
You're
nothing.
right. It was very different.
So
Felt different.
you want to know why I think that's the case?
Why?
You ready for this to just be earth-shatteringly? I'm so proud of Lewis. I'm
What?
so proud of him.
He's taking credit for himself finally.
No, it's not even that. I think that that Lewis recognizes that Ferrari has an ego trip
You think? Yeah.
and he can't feed it because they will lose if he feeds
my
the
gosh.
ego.
Okay.
And I think it's a completely different culture to Mercedes Where at Mercedes, it's like we got to keep the team,
It
motivated.
is very team centric.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, everyone moves together, and
Everybody
everyone wins
has helped
together,
us
and
do
everyone
this.
loses together.
Right.
We are all a team.
But I feel like at Ferrari, the challenge is that it's always been about Ferrari, and everybody the first time they win, all they can talk about is, oh man, this is such a cool opportunity to win with Ferrari.
Yeah,
And
it is.
Lewis
Thank
got
you.
out of the car.
Thank you, Ferrari gods.
Right.
Thank you for letting me drive in your red
Tifosi.
car.
Oh, it's Italy. Thank you for supporting
Thank you,
me.
Enzo Ferrari.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, praise Saint Ferrari.
I kissed the feet of the
Yeah.
Ferrari mafia. Yeah.
It's legit, like it's its own subculture. And I saw Lewis just be like, great work. We got to work harder. We're not working hard enough. I know that we're not going to be able to deliver this result on Sunday. It was one of the things that he said. So we're going to have to go back to work to make sure that we can qualify well for this afternoon. And like, he wasn't wrong.
Yep.
Qualifying came around. McLaren had tweaked the car and they were light speed
Yeah.
out there. And Ferrari was unfortunately a little too touchy to be able to deliver the same result. But I think that, like, to me, I just think that this is a game changer. That Lewis is going in there and kind of going, I love this organization. This is cool. I'm excited to be able to deliver for you guys. But I think we got to shape up, and I'm expecting more. And I think that his whole demeanor is completely different from Mercedes.
Interesting. I love that. Because we have mentioned in the past, and I am going to blank on the people we've talked about, but specific, very skilled, genius people in the Formula One world is like terms of like car designers, maybe drivers that go to Ferrari and they are kind of like dismissed because they aren't a part of like the Ferrari culture. Like, no, here at Ferrari, we have a way of doing things.
Right.
And you're here because, yeah, you're good, but like, we're going to do it our way.
We're going to continue to be Ferrari.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think Lewis has the ability to actually make change at Ferrari? Is he the type of dude with the track record, the fame, the stature to actually do that?
I think so. And I almost am wondering if like some of this is like, was this a phone call with Vettel?
Oh,
That like kind of like alluded to being like, here's the mistake I made.
I would love to know
Don't
these
make
things.
this mistake.
Yeah.
Go in there and push the team to be bigger than they are.
Yeah.
Be the best team in Formula One. Don't just worry about being Ferrari. You haven't already made
This
it.
is something that Charles can't do.
No, because
He's only been at Ferrari.
he's a baby boy that raced for Alfa Romeo
Yeah.
for a second.
And I totally forgot. I was hanging out with people this weekend, and was it you? I don't know who I was talking with, but like totally forgot that we love Charles because his godfather died in F2. Was that it?
Jules Bianchi. No, in F1.
In F1.
Yeah.
And then he won the race like the next day, right?
No.
Who? Oh, was it his friend that died? He had someone die, and then he went and won the race the next day.
Oh, his dad died and then he won.
That was what it is.
Yeah.
And he was able to do it. And
I think in F2. It's like Charles won a race after his dad passed away.
okay. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
Okay, yeah.
And it kind of like solidified him as this.
Maybe it was Jules. You might be right. I'm
not sure.
I'm forgetting some of these details, but
But yeah,
the Jules Bianchi thing was definitely
Mm-hmm.
huge, and Charles's tie to Jules, to his dad,
Mm-hmm.
losing two huge pieces of his life,
and still performing and,
still-
winning a race at
yeah.
that time. That like Ferrari is just like so starry eyed over this like the boy who lived that you like to call.
I mean, it's such a
He looks like a little Harry
metaphor,
Potter, yeah.
because he is kind of has a tragic story. But yeah,
But he
when you
doesn't-
put it in that
yeah.
context, you make me look bad, Max. It's kind of a Harry Potter joke.
I mean, but Charles Leclerc, I can see him just having bought into Ferrari from such a young age in his career.
Yeah.
That like he can't see the outside perspective.
No.
And he's not gonna be able to change that. That's interesting. I
Yeah,
like that.
he was raised in the culture, so how can he shift it?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's too much
You
to
need
ask
a
of
paradigm
somebody.
shifter for sure.
Yeah, and Lewis
Interesting.
is absolutely the missing piece of that puzzle.
That would be cool if he's the one who can break this unwinning championship curse that Ferrari has.
It's been a long time coming.
Is he the Brad Pitt, the Moneyball guy?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of am hoping. I'm hoping that we can see
Which
something
is
out of
weird.
Ferrari that we've never
It's
seen.
weird that we're having conversations building up Lewis.
Well,
We've
like,
come a long way.
yeah. Well, and
And it'll change next year for sure.
If he starts winning, I'm gonna for sure change my tone. I have a problem. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting dynamic with Ferrari. But I think we move on to
sure.
the third topic.
Yes.
Which is the elephant in the room that I named this live stream after, which is, are we gonna Liam Loss him?
Is we gonna lose the Liam Lawsons?
Yeah. Is he going to get lost
Yeah.
so quickly? Yes, this has been 3 races.
2.5
quotes,
races,
2.5 races.
whatever.
Yeah. But this seems like really premature. So I'm curious to hear what you're thinking.
I mean, I have seen him just not perform.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot. I hear lots of rumors going on right now. But I know that we talked about last episode. Red Bull paid Sergio, what, 9 million?
16 million.
Oh, I was off by half.
Yeah.
So $16 million. And now Liam is not performing as Sergio was.
Yeah.
So it's like, you've paid $16 million for, and then plus some
championship
for Liam,
points is what you're hoping to get.
And-
Constructor championship points.
and it's not paying out. Was this the investment you wanted to make, Red Bull?
Right.
Yeah. And
I definitely not.
okay. So
Right.
the whole question is now, is Liam Lawson going to be able to stay in his seat for longer than another race?
Longer than 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I have some
Oh,
stats.
Yes.
So we all know Red Bull's notorious for just cutting their drivers.
Yes.
So Alex Albon, how many races did he race with in Red Bull before they axed him?
I'm going to go
This is a
with
little
like
quiz.
I'm going to go with like
Dun, dun, dun.
8.
Ooh, 9.
It was 9?
9.
I was very close.
Very close. Okay. And do you know how many points he scored?
Quite a few.
76 points.
Yeah.
Not crazy.
No, he was
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah. So it's wild that they axed him
And
so quick.
he had a podium. He was on for a podium that Lewis freaking spun him into
that's
the gravel
right.
in Austria.
Alex was gonna get his
and
first
I wanted to
podium.
punch Lewis so bad. I was like, Lewis, that was the meanest. It was the meanest thing you've ever freaking done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyways,
Okay. Pierre Gasly, another
Yeah.
great driver, axed from Red Bull before he had his chance.
I want to say Pierre's was shorter than Alex's,
Okay, what are you gonna guess?
like 6.
He had 12 races.
Oh, he had longer.
before he got moved to AlphaTauri.
Okay, so I was half.
Yeah. No worries.
But Pierre's run was rough.
Yeah.
He had a rough run.
What do you mean?
He was outside the points. Lots of like reliability problems. I remember
Okay.
even like tire blowouts and just things that were like, some of it fell outside of his control. Whereas like with Liam right now, I'm like, this feels like the car is you're just not getting it. Whereas with Pierre, I felt like a lot of it was kind of like interesting mishaps and stuff that played into that.
Yeah.
And Albon delivered really well. So I remember kind of feeling like the Pierre and Albon thing seemed like 6s to me, but they chose to hire Perez
Yeah. Interesting.
after he won a race.
yeah.
And that just seemed like such an interesting choice.
Yeah. So Liam Lawson, 3-ish races in.
Yeah.
Do you think that they would cut someone 3 races in?
Do
But
I
his
think they
performance-
would? Yes,
Oh, yeah.
because they're Red Bull.
Yeah, because they're insane.
I don't think it's the right thing to do.
No, I think, and we can get into this. I think Red Bull, they're insanely toxic.
Yes.
And they've created an organization that now is starting to crumble in on itself.
Big time.
Yeah. This model might have worked in 2018 or whatever, being ruthless and cutting and whatever. But now you've ran out of drivers.
And nobody wants to race for you.
Yeah, you've lost all your goodwill
Because
with
of
every
Helmut
driver.
Marko, right.
Yeah. You have this guy in your organization that everyone hates.
Yeah.
No one can work with this guy.
No.
I'm like, my opinion is take him out of the seat.
Yeah.
And so you've lost all your goodwill with all your drivers. And yeah, no one wants to race for you anymore.
No.
But they will because everyone wants a seat in Formula One.
Right. Especially at a
everyone will
team
take
that
a
can run up
chance.
front.
Yeah. But you've also developed a car now that is so tuned to Max Verstappen that any new person coming into the sport will always also fail.
Right.
So are you just going to keep axing new drivers every 3 races now? Is
Seems
that
like
now
it.
the pattern you're getting to?
Right.
Or can you just stick to someone? I mean, I hate to say
It's
it, but
almost
like,
the
you
best
might as
thing
well
to-
have just stuck with Sergio Perez.
Right.
You know, our opinion, they should have put Daniel Ricciardo in the seat ages ago when he was setting lap times as good as Max in that car
It's
2 years ago.
It was literally, why would you use a measuring stick for a driver that is not the car that he can deliver in?
Yeah.
The reason that firing Daniel was the most ludicrous and absurd decision was because he delivers in a Red Bull, not a racing bull, not this
Not a
B
V-car.
team
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
When he got into the Red Bull, he was as fast as Max. No one else has done that.
Yeah.
No one else. Why would they? And I'm wearing an Enchante hat, so I know that if you're listening to this, that I am such a hypocrite. But the point is that I'm like, nobody has matched Max except for Daniel. He knows how to race that car that's on a knife edge the way that Max can. So it makes no sense. I'm gonna calm down.
It goes back to Helmut Marko. It goes back to just like terrible leadership.
Yeah.
I think he's just kind of butthurt that Daniel Ricciardo went to Renault.
Right.
It's like, that's it.
And it's like that's the point. That's the reason why
You're
you
giving
don't
up
want
championships now because you get butthurt.
right. And now you can't even get close to McLaren because you don't have 2 cars that finish in the points. It's nuts.
And you probably a lot of evidence to support this, but like when you don't have a teammate that's racing up with you, you're fighting by yourself, which is what Max is doing now.
Right. Yeah.
He's fending
carrying
off
the team by
2
himself.
Mercedes, 2 McLarens, and 2 Ferraris. Liam Lawson is in 20th.
Right.
At least sometimes last year you had Sergio Perez who could help with some sort of racing strategy to help, get more points.
Right.
But now it's just Max all alone.
Well, okay, I agree with you.
Those are all my thoughts.
Yes.
Let's go, Mike. Yeah. You're gonna.
I've been drinking green tea all day, and now you're gonna bring the demons out of me. That's how I feel right now. But no, I mean, the thing about Red Bull is that they are in dire need of a corporate course correction. That if they do not fix, they are going nosedive. This company is going to not survive Max, and Max is leaving. I'm sorry for anyone who's listening that's not going to agree with me on that. Max is leaving the team.
You think this is last
I think
season?
it's over.
Yeah.
I think it's over. So if Red Bull continues to put eggs in the Max Verstappen basket, they're going to lose everything because that car is developed knife edge performance that no one else can drive. And if they're already developing the next year car to match Max and he leaves, they're screwed.
There's no one that can come in and drive that car.
Nobody can drive it.
Yeah.
And so you're staring down the barrel of a really scary outcome if you continue to put eggs in that basket. Mercedes kind of started to back that off with Lewis, sensing that he might leave the team. And I think Mercedes' current form is a self-preservation move that they did while Lewis was on the team.
Smart move.
Yeah.
They're performing well.
And I think that that's something that they had to do knowing that Lewis might leave.
Yeah.
Right? And I think right now Red Bull is faced with that same challenge. And they have to recognize it now. But the decision to let Liam go because he's on Helmut Marko's, radar is not performing well enough, to me is just an absurd, let's go ahead and just defeat and throw another driver into the furnace who's had great results, who's delivered, who's been a really good race car driver. But just because he doesn't match Max's driving style, it's absurd.
Yeah.
And to me, again, it's I watched the DTM championship that Liam lost in the final race when Kevin Vanderlyn freaking crashed into him on the first lap, taking him out of the race, and he couldn't win the championship.
DTM is what?
The DTM is a sports car racing series adjacent to kind of WEC.
So these are closed wheels cars. They look like road cars.
Yeah, I think that
Supercars.
Yeah, they have Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Audi R8s,
Gotcha.
BMWs. That's the DTM
So Liam
series.
was racing in this before.
And
F1.
when you've graduated from F2, it's not uncommon that if you don't get a seat in F1 that you might go race in DTM.
Okay.
And so Liam had the championship lead with one race to go and was taken out on the first lap by the guy who was second in the championship, who ended up winning by taking him out in a crash on purpose. It was a Senna Prost kind of situation. It was really shady. I was super mad for him.
Dang.
But I've seen Liam deliver. He's a good race car driver. And so just the fact that we're analyzing him like he's roadkill.
Yeah.
Because he's had a couple of bad races in Max's car. Just seems absurd. So, but on top of that, the other thing is that I've heard rumors that they're just going to cut Lawson loose completely, hire Colapinto to come into Racing Bulls and graduate Yuki. And I know that Colapinto is hot real estate.
Yeah, he's so hot, and I don't know why. Why are you shaking your head, Kevin? You get the same vibe? I'm he did decent. He crashed a bunch. Why is he such hot stuff?
I think Liam
There's a couple of things.
in that car. I think Liam in the Racing Bull is better than Franco in the Racing Bull.
I agree with that. He says that Liam in the Racing Bull is faster than he is in the Red Bull. Yeah.
I think it's
You think Red Bull doesn't like Liam? So what, are they starting to sabotage his career and cut him out? Oh, that's such a dumb game to play. It's such a top level of racing.
It seems like what's your what's your beef with him? You know what I mean? And I've seen his personality. Yeah, he's kind of got that like, I'm here to race. I'm a fierce competitor. But like, isn't that Max?
Yeah.
Isn't Max a super fierce competitor? And it seems to me like that makes a ton of sense to kind of be like that's the personality type that you need to be on their team.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what that is about, but I agree with you. I do think that they're kind of like, they don't seem very supportive of Liam right now. So
In Yuki is their reserve driver.
right.
So
Oh well, yeah.
well, if not Yuki, like
Yeah.
who else would?
I mean,
onto
if
the
they
team?
graduated Hajar, I would. If I were Yuki, I would burn Milton Keynes to the ground. I'd be like,
I
"You
didn't
are
even
horrible
consider that.
people."
Yeah, I mean, do they have something against Yuki? But yeah, is there anyone else that's even waiting in the wings that could fill a Red Bull seat?
I mean, right now,
They've kind of burned their bridges with everyone.
I think the only person who's got any kind of experience that would jump in there is Carlos, and I don't see Carlos doing it.
Yeah, the Williams seems kind of good.
It's competitive. He's found a good home there. A lot of people are really like touting that relationship as like in high regard that he chose a team when they were on the uptick of performance. And so I could see him being like, I'm invested. I'm here. I don't think I'm not ready to go to Red Bull. I think that's a far cry from happening. But he's the only dude who's top tier level driver that they could hire.
Yeah,
Because I do think that his clause probably has some kind of exit in it. But
not mid-season.
yeah, mid-season would be really tough to assume that would be possible. But I don't know.
yeah. Things look very dire at Red Bull.
Yeah.
They've lost a lot of their engineers. They've lost Adrian Newey, and now their drivers
Adrian
are drying
Newey.
up real quick.
Adrian Newey went to Aston Martin. Rob Marshall went to McLaren. Rob Marshall was on the technical team for Red
He was on the
Bull.
podium in Australia.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
that's right.
They lost Jonathan Wheatley. Jonathan Wheatley is I think the team principal at Kick Sauber now. He was the sporting director at Red Bull and then went over to Kick Sauber. And I think and Dan Fallows, who was under Adrian Newey, was Aston Martin's technical director until Adrian went there. So they have lost all of their leadership as far as technical is concerned, and they've all gone elsewhere. And so it's like I said, Pierre Wache is designing the car. He's the lead on the F1 car right now, and it seems like he designs a knife edge car for Max that no one can drive, and if they continue down that path, it will be a decade or more before they're back on form.
Oh gosh. Here's a question, and I'm sure we've gone over it. What is Helmut Marko's job?
He is just
Driver development, right?
and he's
Does he have a lot of ownership in the company?
no.
Is he just hired?
I think his
He's just-
official title has consultant in it, if I remember right. I
mean,
think
Christian Horner, I think, has some ownership in the company.
no.
No, I thought he
He's
did.
He's just team principal.
Man, I thought I saw a title card this weekend.
He's doing all right.
He's doing all right. Like Toto Wolff has ownership of
He has
Mercedes
33%, but
Yeah.
that not every team principal has
Yeah.
ownership.
I thought Christian Horner did.
He might, and it might, but I
but-
mean, imagine it would be like shares.
But like Helmut Marko, yeah. How is this
Here,
guy?
I'm going to look up his
so-
official title.
Such an influential person in this organization that seems so indispensable. Get rid of him.
Helmut
Kevin is talking right now.
Helmut knows.
Helmut knows. This is what he's saying. Now he's thinking. This is great TV.
This is very
Mike's
good
on
TV
his
to be
phone.
described.
Kevin's thinking, and I'm trying to narrate it all.
If you look at drivers in F2 and beyond, Helmut keeps a pretty close pulse on everyone who's racing.
I'm glad you didn't say I.
So he's saying that Helmut Marko keeps a pretty good close pulse on every F2 driver and every driver that's racing. So there's a lot of people.
And then
that
I made a
do
glass
that.
eye joke, which seems insensitive until I'm talking about Helmut Marko, who's the most insensitive SOB on the planet.
Anyway, I guess that was just my question for those who might be listening who are new. Because Helmut Marko's name gets thrown around a lot. You would think he was the owner of Red Bull. Like, you think he was the, like,
He's done a good job at facilitating young talent.
yeah.
And I think it's hard to.
Is there any more young talent coming up? I'm sure there is.
I think
I'm sure there is.
I think Isaac Hajar is a really good driver.
Kevin is saying that Isaac Hajar is pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. All right,
Interesting.
here's his official title.
Okay.
Advisor to the Red Bull GmbH Formula One teams and head of Red Bull's driver development program.
Okay.
But like I said, it's a advisor. It's
Yeah.
not even a consultant role.
It's just crazy that someone in that role seems to have more power than someone kind of like Adrian Newey.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and he was close with Dietrich Mateschitz, which is the reason that he's still there.
Yeah.
The Austrian arm of that company is very strongly in support of Helmut. But it does beg the question at some point or another, when does all of the firing stop, and when do you have a close look at your organization and say, maybe it's time to change some things?
Yeah.
So-
something needs to happen.
Yeah.
Culture needs to change.
For sure.
Yeah. Honestly, model it after Mercedes.
And here's one last little just nugget, because you were saying like, oh, this is like 2018. The Red Bull organization has been doing this for as long as I feel like it can be told.
Yeah.
We talked about this last year, but I even just want to shed light on it for a second. Weber and Vettel competed for a championship on equal terms until Vettel stole it. At the very last minute, he won the championship. Weber was competitive and close within very few points of winning the championship himself until Vettel just like literally stole it without anyone expecting it. Okay. From there, Weber never got close to winning a championship again. Not even remotely close. It was all Vettel from there. And that is the story of Red Bull. Every single time they found the driver, the one driver, the team's full focus and pivot went so much energy behind that one person that's where it ended up being the demise of number two. So Weber became number two. Vettel won 4 championships. Ricardo comes in. What happens? Ricardo's faster than Vettel. No one expected it. And now the team pivoted to Daniel. Vettel goes to Ferrari because he sees the writing on the wall. I'm no longer number one.
I'm not going to become Mark Webber.
And he also wanted to be Michael Schumacher's, German in a Ferrari thing. So I get it. That's also cool. But Ricardo became driver number 1. Daniel Kvyat comes in, gets fired after like 5 races. Very short time. He ran into Vettel like 3 times, and Vettel called him the torpedo because it was...
Sebastian Vettel at Ferrari got Daniel Kvyat fired.
Yeah, because he went over and talked to Christian, was like, you gotta do something
That is
here.
a crazy move.
Yeah. But so Kvyat goes, and then Max gets graduated, wins his first race with Red Bull as a 17-year-old or something, becomes the youngest race winner in Formula One. That's the infamous race that Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton ran into each other, which is why Red Bull was in the running to win a race. Otherwise, Mercedes would have destroyed everybody like usual. But anyways, then we move into Max comes in, wins a race. Daniel sees the same thing Vettel saw. Baby boy Max is the new hero. The whole team's going to focus on him, and Daniel goes to Renault. You can't blame him. This is hindsight's 2020 on all this, right? And then Max has not had a teammate that's been able to outdo him, and so he's remained the focus of the team.
Yeah.
But from literally Weber all the way through to now Liam Lawson, driver number 2 has been sabotaged. And that is Weber, Daniel Kvyat, Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Sergio Perez, and Liam Lawson. That is 7 top-tier racing drivers that have not been able to survive at Red Bull. It's not the drivers. I can't emphasize it enough. It's the organization. They need to fix themselves. It's crazy. Anyways, end of soapbox.
Once they lose Max, they'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Max is gone, they'll need to shift.
Yeah.
Something will happen.
He's going to Merck.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think so too.
You think Max will go to Mercedes?
But here's
Okay.
here's the question, and this was
and
posed
it'll be
to me.
Max and Kimi.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll buy so much Mercedes gear.
I'm already there.
You know, my reason for not getting any Mercedes gear right now is anyone having even remotely thinking I'm a George fan.
So here's the question, though.
Oh, do you like George Russell? No, I can't even do it right now.
No. Okay, but here's the real question.
Yeah.
If Max leaves the team and the next driver that's promoted, well, so this was posed to me from a friend. So when Max was promoted to the team, he won his first race and got Kelly Piquet, which was Daniel Kvyat's girlfriend and baby mama.
She comes with she's like a benefits package.
So if Yuki Tsunoda gets graduated for the Japanese Grand Prix,
he gets
wins
Kelly
the
Piquet.
Japanese Grand Prix, does Kelly Piquet have to change her focus?
I think she does. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this is a Red Bull thing. I'm saying this is a Kelly Piquet thing.
And she has a child with Daniel.
Yes.
Kvyat.
And she's pregnant with
Child.
Max's child.
So So Yuki's going to be raising 2 other F1 drivers' babies,
Yes.
and then have his own with Kelly Piquet.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get married, and then eventually Isaac Hadjar will come in.
Yeah. Kudos to my buddy Ryan Hung for this joke.
That's amazing. For the last little bit,
Yes.
let's talk about McLaren. They got a
Yes.
double podium finish.
Man,
I am glad that Oscar won.
I'm over the moon for
Yeah.
Oscar.
But one thing I wanted to point out, the Australian Grand Prix, it looked like the McLarens were just going to disappear into the distance. If the rain hadn't been there, it's like would have been just like they would have lapped
Destructive.
everyone.
Yeah.
I was prepared for that coming into the Chinese Grand Prix, that they were going to just disappear into the distance, and we were going to have like Mercedes and Ferrari kind of like fighting with each other in the back. It seemed to me that they were all kind of equal in their performance. They stayed about 2 to 3 seconds apart the entire race, from McLaren to Mercedes to Red Bull to Ferrari. Is that an accurate assessment? So to me, I'm thinking like, oh, the McLaren's won, but it's a bit more tighter than I thought it was, which could give us a lot of fun racing this year. What do you think? Or were they just like holding back?
I mean, there is some management, right? And that's the thing that's different now, that I would say, like, it's true of even the time when Lewis and Nico were destroying everybody in Mercedes, that like they would win by minutes, right? But I do think that like the field really is that close when you look at qualifying. And then I think that race pace, yeah, they're all pretty even. But I think that at the moment, McLaren has the leg up on being able to get the tires up to temperature with that braking system that they developed, where it's giving heat off the brakes to heat the tire.
Oh,
And
that's a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. Could show you a diagram that was drawn for this.
That's pretty neat.
But basically, they came up with like these ducts that lead from the brakes out to the wheel rim. To basically heat up the tire a little better.
Every time I hear of a Formula One engineer's
Like
invention, I am blown away.
A new piece of tech that.
That helps performance. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, that is wild.
Let me see if I can find the drawing.
While you're
here.
pulling that up, oh yeah, here you go.
That's the wheel duct here.
Okay, pretty
So,
cool.
Let's see if I can zoom in on it and
this
turn
is
it
great.
sideways. But basically, the idea here is that wheel duct
Nice. This is great.
has some cooling fins that go out to the
Kevin
wheel
is
rim and heat up the tire.
cringing.
So, it's live, Kevin. Take it easy. Goodness gracious.
So yeah, okay. So McLaren, obviously, great race for them.
Right. And I'm just excited. I'm like, Oscar really showed Lando what's up this weekend, got pole position, and then there was just like not even in question. He was just race winner.
Gone.
Yeah.
So fun. There was lots of amazing overtakes. I loved when Max overtook Charles. That was a wild overtake.
Yeah.
Yuki had a terrible race. We already talked about that, but his wing just broke.
Right.
His wing just fell off.
Right.
And the way that they were covering the race, it almost made it seem like Isaac was ahead and had crashed into Jack Doohan. And then when they replayed it back, there was no crash, and Yuki was the one ahead, and his wing just like snapped,
Just like
under downforce.
And you're like, oh,
that sucks.
yeah, that's
Act of God.
terrible.
I loved that Jack Doohan kind of forced Isaac Hadjar off the track, or is that what it was?
I think so.
And then he got a race penalty, but then he just kept getting in the way of Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah, he's
and I
like,
was
all right, yeah.
yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. I already have a penalty.
I just,
Yeah.
it was always on that really sharp hairpin turn after the straight.
Yeah.
Isaac must have just been pissed.
He's just like, get out of the way. I'm faster.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Any other fun highlights of bits from the race?
Honestly, I mean, if I'm being 100% transparent, part of the reason why I must have missed the Charles Leclerc thing is that I tried to watch it live, and I admit
At 1 in the morning,
I
2 in the
admit that
morning?
I was like, huh? Oh, he's still leading. And
Yeah,
because that
gone.
race order never really changed, the DRS was just one big train. I kind of I drifted off. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
there's some cool
otherwise, I
stuff.
just felt like the sprint race was definitely for me was an epic piece of the weekend just because of what it meant for Ferrari, for Lewis, and just kind of what I think we have coming in the year ahead.
Okay, we have a question from a listener, and then we can wrap this up.
Do we have any comments that we need to address or anything? Nope. Good.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. This person asked a few questions. This is from Miranda, big fan
yes.
of the show.
Yes, and I'm sure some of this is Australian GP maybe related.
No,
or?
it was all this race.
Yeah.
She also got us some cool stuff for the
nice.
studio from the Australian Grand Prix. So
Rad.
that's cool.
Thank you, Miranda.
Okay, cool. Does plan A be just regard to when a pit or a tire change happens?
Yeah.
Is that pretty much the same? Like plan A or we're going plan B? Does that mean they're changing their kind of tire strategy and their pit stop strategy?
Yeah, and they will do things to kind of vary engine modes and stuff too. So like when they say like plan A and plan B, and some of the time what they'll do is they will dummy decoy some of those messages, and the drivers will be aware of that and play along. But a lot of the time, you know, they will use plan A to say that they're actually going to do their C plan or whatever. Because a lot of the assumption is like, yeah, well, in this pit window, we're going to stop and get tires.
Gotcha. Okay, another question. What is understeer and what is oversteer? I don't know.
Yeah.
One, the front is squirrely and one the back is squirrely.
Yes.
I really don't know.
Yes.
I hear all the time on Top Gear.
Right.
When they're doing oversteer and understeer, and Jeremy Clarkson's talking about it, and I never know which is which.
Right.
Yeah.
So all-wheel drive cars tend to understeer the most out of everything.
Okay.
Which means that when you turn the wheel and you're accelerating, the car just keeps going straight. And your wheels aren't gripping.
Drifts?
No. So like a drift would be if the back tires are loose and they're going like this. So if you
Okay.
start to lose traction and you're doing a little sliding over here with the model car. So, but when you turn the wheels and you just are still going straight, that's understeer. So it's not steering. So it's under delivering on your steer.
Okay.
And then if you oversteer, that means that when you've turned the wheel, the back end of the car starts to rotate. And then you're over delivering on the steer. So then you have to counter steer to be able to keep the car going, right?
Okay.
So understeer is when you're not getting as much movement that way as you want. And then oversteer is when you've got way too much movement that way.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
a great explanation.
Yeah.
And final question.
Yes.
What watch sponsor is your favorite from Formula One? I mean, I don't know how to pronounce half the names, but we have Richard Mille.
Richard Mille. Yeah.
We have Tag Heuer.
Yeah.
Tag Heuer. IWC.
Yes.
Then Tudor.
Tudor.
And then some very fancy ones.
Yes.
But what would you pick?
I mean, because of my snobbiness, Tudor is probably my favorite because it's a subsidiary of Rolex. It's affordable Rolex.
I'll ask
But
Kevin
here's the
this.
thing.
Kevin, you get an answer ready. 'Cause Kevin
Richard
loves
Mille
watches
and
too.
some of these other ones to me are just they're super boutique.
I am liking the Richard Mille ones. Every time I see one, I'm like, I know it's $1 million for that watch, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. I know you can't tell time on it, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
But that's the thing for me is that I'm such a traditionalist. I like a very traditional watch. That the Richard Milles are just really flashy. They're really different.
Yeah.
And so I like a timepiece that kind of just is engineered to perfection.
I think Kimi Antonelli's wearing an IWC watch that's only like $5,000 or something.
Yeah, IWC
And you
makes
look at
them-
Lando Norris's watch, it's like $60K, $600,000. So it's crazy.
insane.
Kevin, what would you say?
He's
You'd
a
get the
Richard Mille
Richard,
man.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like, I mean, and I'm guilty of some of these. Like if you get me around an A-Long Zone, which is like really stupid expensive. I've held an A-Long Zone that is $250,000.
Oh my goodness.
And when I held it, I was like, yeah, this is worth more than my first house.
Yeah, wild.
It's nuts. But you know, and that's a really nice timepiece. But I tend to lean into those kind of like super precise German, Swiss engineered timepieces. Those are kind of my vibe.
Now, if Haas does Haas have a dedicated watch sponsor?
They used to be a
They
Richard
used to be
Mille.
Richard Mille? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So,
But Richard Mille used to own a lot of the grid. They
Okay.
sponsored a lot of the teams.
because Tag Heuer is all
Red
over the
Bull.
place now.
Yeah, but they're also Red Bull's
Yeah.
watch sponsor.
What would you pick for Haas as a watch sponsor?
I feel like Seiko would be my move on that one.
the
It's really
Seiko?
popular
The
in the
Seiko?
US, but also because they got Toyota Gazoo on the car now, and Toyota seems to be a big part of this.
Kind of Japanese.
Kind of tie a little bit of that Japanese into it.
And
Yeah.
it's budget. It's the working man's fancy watch.
It's definitely obtainable, which is what Haas is.
Maybe a Grand Seiko?
Yeah. Yeah, Grand Seiko. I kind of like the Seiko 5. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I got a good Seiko 5.
Yeah, see, that's a dope watch. It's a great watch. There you go. We're unsponsored podcast, but if you're listening,
Seiko, you want to give us some of these watches? Just like
we
that'd be
accept.
great.
I'm wearing a Laurier. I would also probably say Laurier would be a good Haas sponsor. They're a micro brand here in the States.
What about Fossil?
No. They didn't mean to answer so abruptly, but no.
Okay. What
Yeah,
about, where are the smartwatches in Formula One?
Oh, no comment.
Yeah,
No
the
comment.
luxury and the class just goes down when it's like, I tracked all my calories I burned during the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I got 2 million steps. Okay. Anything else?
I think that's everything.
I
for
think
us
we have
this
a bit
week.
of a break until the Japanese Grand Prix,
Yep.
Suzuka.
Yeah.
Until then, yeah, we'll be hanging out, giving you more episodes or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, we'll see
hit
you
C,
soon,
and
guys.
We'll see you later.
Later.
Uh-oh.
Hit the pink or the top button on the far left side. There's like a movie clip button at the very top of like the buttons. There you go.
Yeah.
So
Oh, Miranda was watching it. Thanks for asking my questions. Ha 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 ha. The ending.